only two other men in the history of this republic, General Washington in the Revolution and the Foundation, and Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War, have the personal fate and destiny of an individual be inextricably linked to the fate and destiny of this republic. Donald John Trump is the third person.
Steve Bannon was an architect of Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, his chief strategist in the White House, and later of the effort to overturn the 2020 election on January 6th. He is going to prison tomorrow to serve 4 months for contempt of Congress. We decided to go see him in the basement of his Capitol Hill townhouse, the place where he broadcasts for 4 hours a day a show called War Room. It has a large following among hardcore Trump supporters. Why did we decide to interview Steve Bannon? We did so because Bannon has a direct line to Donald Trump. He is perhaps Trump's most important outside advisor. If you really want to understand what a Trump return to the White House would look like, listen to what Steve Bannon is saying. So I saw recently, while you were on the air doing your show, Donald Trump called.
Hey, Mr. President, I'm live on TV. Can I call you back? I'll call you back, sir. Thank you.
How often are you talking to him?
I don't want to talk details, but we keep in pretty good contact. A lot of the things we talk about end up in his speeches, so we talk frequently enough.
Steve Bannon's worldview echoes loudly in Trump's speeches, with retribution, a central theme of Bannon's War Room, a cornerstone of the Trump campaign.
In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today I add, I am your warrior, I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution.
Some of those who served Trump and crossed him say they're worried. Stephanie Grisham, who was the communications director, the press secretary, communications director for chief of staff for the First Lady.
You're not talking about people like that. That's ridiculous.
She says that she's worried about being charged with treason, that she could be disappeared someday.
That's absurd. I'm talking about people in positions of authority. For instance,
Andrew McCabe, the former deputy FBI, he says he might have to leave the country.
He ought to be very worried. He's definitely going to be investigated. So is Comey. So is Esper. I believe Milley will. Look at what happened in. Look what happened.
Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
Yes,
staff.
because look at we don't know what conversations he had outside the military chain of command when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs, when he talked to the Chinese, when he talked to Nancy Pelosi. We have to investigate all that. If we haven't done anything, you shouldn't worry.
Well, they're worried because Trump and you are talking about retribution. You're talking
It's not retribution at all. First off,
wait, those were his words, not my words.
He
says your retribution.
And what he says by retribution, he said, like he said last night on the debate stage, his retribution is a very successful, more successful second term. What we're saying is we want justice. We want to have full investigations, and then if criminal charges come up, then criminal charges come up.
I mean, you made a promise on your show, as you said, that the Attorney General will be in prison.
100%.
So you're not just talking about investigation. Is Bill Barr on the retribution list?
I think Bill Barr has to be investigated. Not retribution. You keep talking retribution.
No,
why
because Trump said retribution, and you said retribution.
Justice. It's justice.
So,
and I think Bill Barr
needs to be investigated.
Bill Barr needs
to go to prison with Merrick Garland?
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm asking you.
I didn't say that. We have to see. I'm not going to prejudge somebody. We have to see.
So Bill Barr could be going to prison. As part of this retribution campaign.
It's not retribution. It's justice.
Trump. Just days after the 2020 election, Twitter suspended Bannon's podcast. The episode also yanked from YouTube after he seemed to imply that Dr. Anthony Fauci and FBI Director Christopher Wray should be beheaded.
I'd actually like to go back to the old times of Tudor England. I'd put the heads on pikes, right? I'd put them at the two corners of the White House as a warning to federal bureaucrats. You either get with the program or you're gone.
A couple of days before, I was talking about the execution of Thomas More, when metaphorically they put it on the pike. That is a metaphor. In this town, Jonathan, and it's beneath you to bring it up. In this town.
No, it's not beneath me to bring it up because
in this town you say,
let me just say something.
Hang on for a second. In this town, 1,000 times a day, people go, we got to put the heads on pike. We have to put his head on a pike. It was a metaphor.
You're saying at a time when Anthony Fauci and his family are facing death threats, when Christopher Wray and FBI agents all the way down are facing death threats, and you're going out and talking about putting their heads on pikes.
A total metaphor. Anybody understands that. That's your overreach. By the way, they banned us, I think, on Twitter. They banned us on Facebook for that. And hey, guess what? The show got even bigger. So not that we care. And I'm not backing off my
Are you
rhetoric.
concerned about those death threats, though?
That's not a. What do you mean, death threats?
No,
to people?
no, the fact.
Do you think I don't
these
get?
guys need to have,
Do you think I don't get death threats and have security all the time? That comes when you play at the highest levels. It just comes.
Bannon, who served as CEO of Trump's 2016 campaign, is adamant that come November, Trump will win.
Right now, he's going to win by a landslide. It's going to be 340 or 350
Okay,
votes.
so this will be
Stephen
easy.
Bannon.
So this will be easy. Will you appeal right now, message to all of Trump's supporters, to respect the results?
Are you going to pull this
win
again?
or lose?
This is your question.
Have you asked
a Democrat this question? Yes or no? The answer is no. Have you asked a Democrat that question? Have you asked a Democrat?
I haven't seen Democrats storm the Capitol to try to stop an election.
Have you heard Jamie Raskin, what Jamie Raskin's saying about January 6th, that he would not, so the court ruled 9-0?
I have no problem asking Democrats if they're going to
Then why don't you do it then? You've got no problem. The only reason you're going to have it, we put a pitchfork to your back and say, why don't you ask Democrats? Ask some Democrats. Here's the bottom line. When this is adjudicated and reviewed, if they are certifiable, chain of custody, ballots and votes from American citizens, then, hey, whatever that outcome is totally fair. Until the time that we get that, all bets are off.
And I'm talking about violence. Will
Then
you say no matter what, no more
what-
violence? Who
what
talks about
violence?
violence? Well, let's just look at some of your language. Your language. You said
There is no coming together, just like in the Revolution and the Civil War. One side is going to win and one side is going to lose.
Trump supporters.
How's that violent?
Just like the Revolution and the Civil War.
Well, no,
that was war.
No. But you're talking about the two great historical moments in our history,
Which include a lot of bloodshed and violence.
You're talking about. Nobody could derive that we're calling for violence.
Okay, how about this?
Hold it, Donald.
Oh, no. How about this?
We're winning at the ballot box. You know why? Over 50% of the American people right now, including 80% of Republicans, believe the 2020 election was illegitimate. That Joe Biden's illegitimate because of problems with the 2020 election. Okay.
Well, they believe it because a lot of people have lied about it, quite frankly. You also said it's victory or death.
It's very simple. Victory or death.
Victory or death. I did.
Scipio
Africanus, Nelson, Travis at the Alamo. It's a famous saying for when you want people to say, hey, we got to win. You got to put ultimate effort. Do you know why we're winning now? Do you see why we're winning? Because people are inspired by that. They're volunteering hundreds of thousands, an army of the awakened. That's what Biden's going to meet come October and November when voting starts.
Well, I saw an army of protesters attack the Capitol on January 6th, 2021.
The day before a pro-Trump mob stormed the Capitol on January 6th, Bannon told his podcast listeners,
All hell is going to break loose.
for weeks he had been predicting a revolution.
Isn't the point that it's all converging, and now we're on, as they say, the point of attack, right? The point of attack tomorrow. And all I can say is strap in. The War Room, a posse. You have made this happen, and tomorrow it's game day.
You spoke to Donald Trump on the morning of January 6th. What did you talk about?
I don't remember, but it was something, I'm sure, the normal course of business. Remember, let's go back to January 6th, of what you guys, I'm sure you're going to
Normal course of business on January 6th.
I'm sure you're going to cut, cut it to where I said, all hell's going to break loose. Look what I said as the predicate. That day, what was supposed to happen is those states, we were going to have, I think, 12 hours. There were 6 states, 2 hours per state, 7 states, 14 hours per house to debate the actual receipts.
Trump rarely gets specific about what his second term would look like, but Bannon does, pointing to the work of Trump allies like Project 2025 of the Heritage Foundation, which outlines a plan for replacing career civil servants with Trump loyalists throughout the government.
If Trump wins, what does it look like? How is this different from the last?
President Trump hasn't signed off on these, but look, here's what's going to happen, I believe. 3 verticals. First vertical is seal the border in the mass deportations. The second vertical is about the finances.
Yep.
So Trump's going to have to deal with a budget of $2 trillion of deficits. He's going to have to look at getting the tax cuts back. And the third is to stop these endless forever wars in Ukraine, in Israel, and around the South China Sea and Taiwan. That's the program of what he's going to drive to say we have to accomplish this. So I think a whole big part of Project 2025 is actually going into the apparatus, the post-constitutional Leviathan, and start to take apart the administrative state brick by brick.
No, I understand.
Jonathan, I have 900 pages right here of just what. This is just Project 2025.
Yeah.
This is just the Kevin. This is just Heritage. You've got the other groups.
Because you had said that the deep state had thwarted Trump over and over again in the first
100%.
term.
When I interviewed Bannon back in 2018, he predicted an astounding victory for Republicans, saying they would run the tables in the House. Instead, Democrats picked up 40 seats. And in 2022, he predicted a massive blowout for Republicans. Instead, they lost most of the competitive races across the country.
Yeah.
The 2022 did not come out anywhere near what we thought.
I mean, all your guys lost. I mean, you had people like Kerry Lake and Masters.
Okay. Can I say something?
Mastriano.
Okay.
I mean, these guys.
Let me make sure ABC News understands this.
Okay.
This is a populist nationalist revolution. It's a process. We're not going to win every election.
So you may not lose. So you may not win in November.
I happen to think if you look at the numbers today, and you particularly
Well, sure. If you look at the numbers today, I would concede
hang
that.
on.
Yeah.
Not just that, you look at the fiasco. We have to do two things, just real briefly. We have two tracks that have to go down. Right, one is for the country.
Yeah.
This national security crisis we have with a commander-in-chief that's clearly not up to the job, and a constitutional crisis that will come on the 25th Amendment for that. That is something that has to go down this track. They also have a political situation over there. They're going to try to change Biden out.
Are you worried the Democrats will replace Biden with somebody that will be harder to beat?
I was not a fan of doing this debate at this time because I said you're given a free option. President Trump should debate who the Democratic Party nominee is, not a guy named Joe Biden. If it's Biden, do it. If it's Gretchen Whitmer, do it. If it's Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama, you pick it. The Democrats should pick it. That's their choice. But President Trump, I believe, my belief is the incentive of the show day. He did it for the country to show, because he took all the CNN rules, of which I thought were crazy. He took the cut mic. He took the no audience.
The rules may have helped him.
He took the two breaks. Let's say this. He performed magnificently. But that was for the country. Now, as they try to change, first of all, he should never get on a debate stage with Joe Biden again. Been there, done that. But he won't be around. As they try to, my point is, we have a 100% certainty we could beat Biden and beat him big. Take the Senate and pick up seats in the House.
Bannon reports to a federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut tomorrow. He told us he does not regret his refusal to comply with a congressional subpoena, and he says he considers himself a political prisoner, despite his conviction in federal court and his loss of multiple appeals.